Okay, statistics. We're going to look at number 4 from your review sheet. In this one, we have the age distribution of supermarket super shoppers. So these are people who have, when they get something at the grocery store or at some sort of store, at least 70% of the items that they purchase are either on sale or purchased with a coupon. So in looking at the table, I can see the age ranges, and then each age range has a midpoint, and that's actually what I'm going to be using in part A, are the midpoints. And then I can also see the percent of super shoppers for each age range, each age range who buy at least 70% of their goods on sale or with coupons. So what I'm going to do now is graph this distribution as a histogram. And like I said earlier, I'm going to use the midpoints to do that. So each midpoint will be the middle of my bar. And then the heights of my bars are going to correspond to my percents. So in looking at this, I range from 7% up to 44%. So I want some kind of scale that's going to give me that. So across the bottom, I want my bars evenly spaced as well. I'm going to have 5 bars total, and show that I've jumped my scale a little bit, and I might make each bar that wide, so 2 boxes apart. Or I can spread it out more, it doesn't really matter. So it looks like I can do my vertical scale by 2%. I'm going to label both of my axes, so that's the percent, and these are the ages of super shoppers. I'm going to do 23 up to 7%. 34 is the big one, up to 44%. And there is my histogram for the age distribution of super shoppers. So after I create that histogram, the next thing I need to do is compute the expected age of a super shopper. And because this is a regular probability distribution, that formula is the sum of all x times the p of x values. And here again is a place where I'm going to use the midpoints. It's not possible to use the age ranges because that's more than one value. That's not going to work when I try to multiply each x by its p of x. So I will be using the midpoints for that. And I'm also going to pull out my calculator and use the lists in my calculator. So I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to clear L1 and L2. In L1, I'm going to put my x values, or in this case, my midpoints. And in L2, I'm going to put my probabilities. And notice that I am putting my probabilities in not as percents, but as decimals. That's very important for this problem. So then I'm going to go to my home screen. I'm going to do L1 times L2, and I'm going to store that in L3. And I'm going to take a screenshot of that. So I can write that in my work to show what I've done. So x was L1, p of x is L2, then I did L1 times L2 and I stored it in L3. And now I'm going to go stat calc and I'm going to run one of our stats on L3. And again, I'm going to write this down so that I'm showing my work. This is what I'll expect you to do on your quiz as well, is to tell me what was your calculator input, so that if something went wrong, I can figure out what it was and give you partial credit. Here's my output from my one var stats. I want the sum of this list. So my mu value, my expected value for the age of a super shopper is 43.03 years of age. All right, next I need to find the standard deviation. The formula for sigma, the standard deviation, is the square root of the sum of the quantity x minus mu squared times p of x values. So again, I'm going to go back to my calculator. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear my home screen. I already have my x's and my p of x's in L1 and L2. So I'll make a note of that. L1 is my x's, L2 are my p of x's. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want to do L1 minus my mean, 43.03, and I want to store those in L3 because I don't need the x times p of x's anymore. So I stored those in L3. I'm going to write that down to show my work. I'm going to take L3 and square those values and store them in L4. And now I'm going to take L4 and multiply it by L2. Those were my p of x values in L2, and store that in L5. So what I've done was build that formula. Right now, in L5, I have the x minus mu squared times p of x values. I need to find the sum of those, so I'm going to go to my 1var stats, and I'm going to do this on L5 this time. So my sigma is the square root of 151.684909. And for now, you need to keep all those decimals, otherwise you may encounter some kind of rounding error. So I'm going to clear my home screen. I'm going to do the square root of 151.684909. This is the value that I get for my standard deviation. So the standard deviation of the age of super shoppers is about 12.32 years.